Hello out here. Well, I'm at this small little mining town, and I hope you see those railroad tracks behind me so you know this is legitimate stuff I do. And like I said, I'm not going to use any green screens. I just want to say I'm going to get started with this video and we'll see where this goes. Alright, we're going to try this a little different. Standing up. Well, here I am. Hello, you internet goers. This video is about corrective criticism. When searching for video on corrective criticism, I was not able to find any information. So I decided to make this video after reviewing other people's YouTube channels with an idea relating to how a majority of people in modern era attempt to change meanings and definitions of words. Keeping that concept around businesses and management values, I've noticed a drastic decline in the past 22 years. Within business education and how a company collects their intelligence, what we all see and can feel are the unethical practices playing a negative impact on everyone's economy, where we all notice it in different forms, such as some have a hard time finding employees, and other companies, including consumers, run across empty shelves or specific household goods that makes their lives a bit more comfortable. But one thing is certain, we all can notice this in one shape or another. Another aspect I'll explain in a different episode relating to this topic is when groups change the meaning of words to accommodate their self-interest, or skip over the areas that they feel are too hard, or they single-handedly ignore because it would hinder their selfish goals. An example I'll use for that episode is the 4 F's to managing, and how entry-level employees want to put the last F first. Salespeople and their means are known to behave in this way, thinking only of themselves and their energy level before starting their day, while looking at the customer as only a quick buck that can be made. Each of my episodes will be filled with controversy for companies with wicked and evil intent. But within what I speak will be care, love, and good business practice. Because many people in America have student loans and never learn anything of value from their education. And they don't even realize the negative impact that is made for other people. And that leaves them in a state of mind where they can't fathom what happens to them at the end of their life. So please subscribe to stay tuned and up to date on common unethical malpractice issues every American business owner experiences. This information will also give your home-based business some cutting-edge advice, or it can help strengthen and grow your small business by improving interpersonal relationship skills between staff and you. After viewing and utilizing what you learned from my personal perspective, and when you realize the success rate from my advice, please come back and share your experiences. Understand, this is going to take dedication, commitment, and consistent efforts from you. And it may take 6 months or a year to feel the staff morale improve. Then you will see revenue increase after practices are implemented by team members and throughout the entire work process. Plus, as you go through these steps, always remember that Rome was not built overnight. Alright, today I'll examine the definition of words they changed, where it seems the only change people have been making in business was in regard to distancing themselves from staff and accountability to their positions, such as the original word used in business for helping a team member improve, but also critiquing work performance. That word was corrective. What you can see being taught these days has a completely different concept, insinuating another person who doesn't want to correct their own actions wants to build another person into the same type of ignorance while teaching them to be oblivious to simple communication needs for managing a business successfully. In time, that malpractice turns into coercion with legal bribes called bonuses, or special company perks are given, such as vehicles and or company credit cards, with neither supervisor or employee utilizing correction with criticism they give or receive. That poor personal perspective leads to one or both parties exploiting the company, or worse, as the bottom line is affected because of previous bad management. During those times, big industries that have second or third different companies will begin funneling money with the thoughts of bankruptcy as their scheme to get out of responsibility. With the current government supporting that behavior through legalities and their fear of loss, That brings harm to not only their families and government, but also makes a path for Christians and fatherless, God-fearing families to suffer as well. That is what I'm here to prevent, and that's why I delivered a message. What is unlawful, it is also illegal the way I believe. And nature's laws will always be supreme to the laws of nations. Since if a river or a lake wants to flood, no man or dam can stop it, which leads to no man or Congress of humans can tell me different when it comes to what is right and what is wrong. And perceiving only legalities in a kindergarten understanding as you can't do this or you can't do that is no way to help his life nor manage land for Lord God in heaven. That behavior is a single childlike entity when displayed by government officials as a whole or any individual person who is a part of that body and chooses to misbehave. Where the law of the land asserts any unified bodies must be separated so a monopoly does not form. That deceitful, unified, and monopolized business principle went behind America's back. Similar to the way Jesus telling Peter to get behind me, Satan, and then the devil going behind everybody's back to achieve the Christ we see in the world today. That selfish and juvenile reasoning seeped into USA's establishments and merged together not only government, but industries and companies that align with their uneducated perception. And it also harmed the church house's proper order of how Lord God gives honor through his people. With their affiliates' past actions and current insolent reasoning, their pride proves they are no longer fit to determine what is legal or best for the people, which also can be proved in the defamation case I bring to accuse those guilty in official positions. Since they can't determine what is illegal for American citizens and can no longer judge my case, they need to be removed as the U.S. Constitution supports, because USA doesn't have a king, nor needs a juvenile kid who is too young and the parents want them in a political seat because of greed and their pagan family's heritage prestige. With today's topic, I'll begin with the definition of words being used to critique colleagues and what I choose to apply with my life in comparison to what is being forced on students and people. Similar to the way a lie can be told millions of times and still not be accurate when compared with the truth. Okay, now we're going to understand the vocabulary for criticism. The definition for criticism: the expression or disapproval of someone or something based on perceived faults or mistakes. With the word criticism, an unqualified business owner, often known as a boss, will ignore definitions of words along with the core justification why certain words have been previously applied by wiser men before their time. And they'll attempt to alter or conceal original documents where previous arguments made prevents their neglect, which leads to the unethical and unlawful business practices, such as giving the verb constructive while removing correction before criticizing another person. It's probably a pretty simple understanding for a definition for constructive, but I'm going to explain it anyways. The definition for constructive: serving a useful purpose tending to build up. Who decides what is useful for another person? Where is there room for a mistake? When only focused on building up where you disapprove of another person's faults, constructive criticism at that time is a mistake and harmful to everyone. If a supervisor behaves that way, they need immediately addressed and corrected by upper management. And if there is a mistake, following those building rules of not correcting themselves before correcting somebody else, is that error going to be covered up before anybody knows a mistake has been made? I like to think of it a little bit different way. Do they automatically fall victim to a builder's final decision on what mistakes are acceptable and what can be exposed, and what can be beneficial to the builder and person in wrong if deciding to conceal their cracked foundation? Those answers should be simple to answer when thinking of the builder being an overweight kid who stole a candy bar from the store, and then he ate the sweet and exposed of the wrapper in the trash, leaving traces of chocolate on his face. Then if a parent is not smart enough to put two and two together to realize that they was at a store earlier and the kid just now came out of hiding looking like he did something wrong before being questioned, that kid, or in this understanding for the metaphor being explained, That builder isn't going to tell on himself if he stole a candy bar and pranked his naive elders, even if the evidence is written on the faces of their treasurer or accountant. Hope you kept up with that. And that completely is why I always choose to use the wisdom that is proved throughout history. The wisdom before their time used the word corrective, and later being applied in business as a verb for corrective criticism. Now I'm going to give you the definition for corrective so it kind of makes sense. The definition for corrective: designed to correct or counteract something harmful or undesirable. Between common practice and books explaining the original understanding for proper literature and conduct of speech, meanings have been perverted when understanding standards of good ethics and taking other people in regards. Definitions that hold companies and employees accountable for generations have become corrupted in thought. Without a moral standard for analyzing these behaviors, when unchecked, skills to be a successful manager turns into selfish demands or selfish ambition. Those subjected bosses, they only focus on what their narrow vision allows them to see in regard to what they can rebuild or cover up to protect their own pocketbook. When a company thinks about merging for profit, a monopoly is being formed. They are in direct violation to the Virginia Act of 1786. The infractions is taking place either with approval of government officials neglecting their oaths or covertly behind the backs of government ignorance. A quick citation from the Act, directly reflecting my accusations against involved parties: that it tends to only corrupt the principles of the religion it is meant to encourage by bribing with a monopoly of worldly honors or emoluments. Therefore, who will externally profess and conform to it, that through, indeed, therefore, are criminal who do not withstand such temptation. You may want to argue that specifically relates to religious establishments, yet I'm not going in depth with that in this video. But you can review your error by reading the entire case law arguments leading to the Final Establishment Act of 1787. And that act set forth the meaning of the Bill of Rights. I, however, will touch base on what the Founding Fathers of America realized and why they made such arguments to write the Virginia Act. With people attempting to build up people's thoughts while criticizing, without first looking to correct themselves, they quickly reason away any injustice committed by them and starts blaming innocents for their mistake. Any establishment who blindly follows that ideology or compromises ethical practices to gain revenue, any Christian can view and treat them as a person living in a modern Tower of Babel. Nobody wants to talk about it, but with that type of action, it affects what Jesus Christ says on how Christians are supposed to live their life in the flesh, and why the Founding Fathers wrote the laws in the detail for the nation of America. When people group together without the presence of Jesus Christ, they are basically praying to and worshiping the company they are amongst. Their subconscious is based on a passive event where the conversation is avoided because it exposes selfishness within the biased views they use to build for their life. And they fall victim to envy and greed when only focusing on wants. I'll now use Google as the example of how corrective criticism is appropriate and constructive criticism is inappropriate. Google uses constructive criticism as the sentence example for explaining how anybody can use criticism in a sentence. Attempting to build on Google by trying to contact that company and explain my disapproval would be fruitless. And the final verdict, whether I got them to change or not, they wouldn't end with understanding for why my complaints are valid, but would only think they have to because their superiors have told them to change the sentence explaining criticism. However, if they should view this video and take my advice, they will also learn for their future well-being of how to honor the same literature they currently are being taught to misuse. Since this video is now over 10 minutes long, I haven't even gotten into other ways some companies have substituted different words for corrective criticism. I'll make a second part of this corrective criticism episode. In the next video, I'll go over different words used for correction involving people who attempt to critique other people's performances with only a single goal to help. Don't fail me now, you helpful feedback people. This is the time to help when needed. Plus, remember that all the help that you want to give is not considered practical help to an individual or business. So please hit the like button or leave a comment below to help reach UFFCR's next goal. Thank you for viewing my video and have a fantastic day, evening, or night, whatever time it may be for you.